friends. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy, happy, and doing great. Welcome to this episode of our English learning podcast, DDC Learning English. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a topic many of us dream about and, well, love travel. Whether you're excitedly planning a big adventure, maybe a family vacation, or just sort of idly dreaming of a faraway place, this deep dive is absolutely for you. Our mission today is to uncover and explore all the essential English words and phrases you need to make your journey incredibly easy, super fun, and hopefully completely stress-free. From that very first step of booking your flight all the way to confidently exploring new and exciting places.
That's absolutely right. Our main goal here is to help you feel truly confident, every single step of the way when you travel internationally. We've gone through a lot of information, pulled together really practical phrases, and imagined real life situations to help you understand what's most important and how to use the language naturally. You'll learn how to navigate busy airports, politely order delicious food in a restaurant, enjoy shopping for souvenirs, and so much more. It's about giving you the practical tools and the language skills to really enjoy every single moment of your adventures without feeling lost or confused.
So, what does this all mean for you, our fantastic listener? Our mission, as always, on the deep dive is to give you a genuine shortcut to feeling well informed, not just about the topic, but specifically about the English language skills that will empower your travels. We're aiming to give you surprising facts, useful pro tips, and just enough humor to keep you completely hooked. This is going to be packed with useful nuggets. Let's unpack this together.
Okay, let's start at the very, very beginning, long before you even leave your house. My biggest pre-trip stress is always making sure I have all the papers in order. So, what are the most important documents you absolutely need before you embark on any journey?
That's a feeling many travelers share. We have a special name for these critical papers: travel documents. Think of them as your official story, your permission slip to move around the world. These are official papers that provide essential information about you as a person and, of course, details about your specific trip. The most critical among them is your passport.
Right, the passport.
Right.
Exactly. This is a document issued by your government. It features your photograph, important personal details, and clearly states that you are a citizen of your country. You will always, without exception, need your passport when you travel outside your home country. Now, a crucial pro tip here. Many countries require your passport to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your intended stay.
6 months. Wow.
Yes, 6 months after you plan to leave their country. So if your passport expires in 5 months, even if your trip is only for a week, you might be denied entry. It's a common and very upsetting mistake people make.
Oh, wow. That's something everyone needs to double check then.
Absolutely. Also, when you apply for or renew a passport, remember the photo rules. A neutral expression, no glasses, and a clear recent picture. Beyond your passport, you might also need other forms of government identification, such as a national ID card or maybe a driver's license, especially for domestic travel or within certain regions like the European Union.
Okay, got it. Passport is key. Check the date. So once you're actually at the airport, what's that special paper that actually lets you get on the plane?
That's your boarding pass. This particular document is what grants you permission to step onto the airplane. You'll typically present it along with your passport or other identification to the airline staff right there at the gate.
Okay.
You can get your boarding pass in several ways. Sometimes it's a physical paper issued at the check-in desk, or you might receive an electronic version on your phone if you check in online through the airline's app or website.
Right. The app is handy.
Very handy. It contains essential information like your flight number, your seat number, and most importantly, your gate number and boarding time. Knowing these details helps you navigate the airport efficiently. #TAG B. Booking your flight and flight types.
So you've got your passport ready, you know you'll get your boarding pass, and you know exactly where you want to go. How do you actually make this trip happen? What's the English phrase for arranging everything?
Right. The common phrase we use is to book your flight, or sometimes you'll hear, book your trip. This simply means you are making all the necessary travel arrangements and reservations. It's the act of reserving your seat on the plane, your hotel room, maybe any other transport. When you book, one of the first decisions you'll make is your departure date, which is, the specific day you plan to leave for your journey.
Okay, the departure date.
Mm-hmm. Many people book flights several months in advance, especially for popular times or destinations, as this can often lead to better prices. But, sometimes you can find great last-minute deals too. It's worth comparing prices on different airline websites or using those online travel agencies.
Definitely worth shopping around. And once you've picked that departure date, what are the different kinds of flights people can choose from? I know there are a few options, and understanding them can really change your travel experience.
There are a few important types of flights you'll commonly hear about. First, we have a domestic flight. This is a flight that stays entirely within the borders of your own country.
Okay, like inside Italy, Rome to Milan.
Exactly, like Rome to Milan if you're in Italy,
Right.
or maybe Toronto to Vancouver if you're in Canada. It doesn't cross any international borders. The opposite of that is an international flight, which is sometimes also called an overseas flight, especially if it crosses an ocean. This type of flight takes you across national borders to another country, or even to a different continent altogether.
Right.
Now, when you look at how the flight gets you to your destination, you might encounter a direct flight. This means you fly straight from your starting city to your final destination without any stops. Sounds great, right?
Deal.
But if your destination is very far, or if direct flights are too expensive, you might have a connecting flight, or sometimes called a transit flight. This means you fly to one city first, and then from that city, you take a second flight to reach your final destination.
Okay, so a stop in between.
Precisely. When you have a connecting flight, you'll also have a layover or a stopover. This simply means you have a period of time, anywhere from an hour or two to even a full day, where you wait in that intermediate city until your next flight departs. A key insight here. If you have a connecting flight, always check the layover time. Too short, and you might miss your connection, which is stressful.
Oh, yeah, the worst.
Too long, and you could be stuck in an airport for hours, unless, you plan to explore the city during a long stopover, which can actually be a fun adventure in itself.
That's true, a bonus trip. Here's where it gets really interesting for many of us. What about the different ways to fly in terms of comfort and service, like economy or first class? Beyond just the price, what are the actual differences?
Right, the classes. When you're buying your ticket, you can usually choose between different classes of service, and each offers a very different experience. First class is typically the most expensive option, and it's located at the very front of the plane. These seats offer significantly more space. They're often wider and recline further. Sometimes they even turn into, flatbeds.
Flatbeds.
Yeah. Passengers in first class usually get gourmet meals, premium drinks, and often access to exclusive airport lounges. One added benefit many notice is that you might feel less movement from what we call turbulence.
Oh, the bumpy stuff.
Yeah, the bumpy stuff, the movement of the plane due to air currents. Well, turbulence isn't dangerous. The larger seats and maybe the position in the plane can make it feel a little less unsettling. Then there's business class, which is also quite expensive, but usually less so than first class. It offers a step up from economy with more comfortable amenities. That means features like wider seats, more legroom, better meal service, and sometimes lounge access. It's a good balance of comfort and cost for many business travelers. And finally, Economy class is the most common and usually the cheapest option. These seats are found in the main part of the plane, and they offer the least amount of legroom and space.
The standard seats.
Exactly. While it's the most budget-friendly choice, many travelers find ways to make economy more comfortable, like choosing aisle or window seats, bringing neck pillows, or packing light. A little planning can make a big difference in economy.
Definitely. So once you've picked your class and your flight, what if you want to make absolutely sure your flight is on time, or if you have any last-minute questions about your booking? How do you confirm everything before you go to the airport?
A very smart thing to do is to call the airline directly to confirm your tickets and your flights. This is really important because, as we mentioned, sometimes there are delays or even cancellations due to various reasons like bad weather or mechanical issues with the plane or unexpected crew problems.
Right, things happen.
Exactly. You want to make sure your flight is still scheduled as planned. It's good peace of mind.
Okay, so calling them is a good idea. Can we imagine how that call might go?
Yeah, let's do that. A very common situation. Imagine you call the airline, slightly formal agent voice. Hello, Global Wings Airlines. How may I help you today?
Customer voice, polite. Oh, hello. I would like to confirm my flight, please. My trip is next week.
Agent voice. Certainly. Can I please get your full name and your ticket number?
Customer voice. Yes, my name is Maria Rodriguez, and my ticket number is 456643.
Agent voice. Thank you, Maria. Let me check. Yes, I see your reservation. You are scheduled to depart on June 15th at 1 p.m. for your flight to London. Is this correct?
Customer voice. Yes, that's exactly correct. Is everything on schedule?
Agent voice. Yes, Marie, your flight is confirmed and currently on schedule. Is anyone else traveling with you on this booking?
Customer voice. Yes, my husband is traveling with me. His ticket number is 45644.
Agent voice. Okay, I see both tickets are confirmed. Everything looks good. Please remember to arrive at the airport at least 3 hours before your flight departs, as it's an international flight.
Customer voice. 3 hours. Got it. Thank you so much for your help.
Agent voice. You're very welcome. Have a
Yeah.
pleasant trip. See how practical that conversation is? That's a very common and useful real-life situation you'll definitely encounter when preparing to travel.
Yeah, very helpful.
Knowing these simple phrases makes the whole process much smoother and less stressful. It's also a good idea to download the airlines app. They often send notifications about flight status directly to your phone.
Good tip. Tag Tacy. Money matters when traveling. Okay, moving on. Money is always a big consideration when traveling, and it can be completely different in other countries. What should we know about managing money when we travel abroad, beyond just, having enough?
Absolutely. Money matters are crucial for a smooth trip. The money used in a specific country is called its currency. For example, in Canada, they use dollars, but in Europe, they use euros. Now, here's an interesting and sometimes confusing point. Even if two countries use the same name for their money, like Canada and America both use dollars, their currencies are still different. A Canadian dollar is not the same as an American dollar in value.
Right, they're worth different amounts.
Exactly. One Canadian dollar might be worth, for example, 75 cents in U.S. currency. You need to be very aware of that.
So how do you get the right money for the place you visit, and how do you figure out how much you actually need for your budget?
You need to understand the exchange rate. This tells you how much of your home currency you need to get someone else's money, or, the local currency. For example, it might tell you that one US dollar is worth 0.92 euros, or maybe 150 Japanese yen. It's a very good idea to check the currency used and the current exchange rate for your destination before you even leave your home country.
Before you go.
Yeah. This way you're not surprised when you arrive and try to buy something and you can budget more accurately. A pro tip here. Generally, try to avoid exchanging large amounts of money at those airport exchange booths when you arrive.
Oh, why is that?
Well, they often have very unfavorable exchange rates and high fees. You'll usually get a much better rate by withdrawing money from a local ATM that's an automated teller machine with your debit card, or by using a credit card for purchases.
Okay, ATMs are better.
Generally, yes. Just remember to tell your bank or credit card company that you'll be traveling so they don't block your card for unusual activity. That can be a real headache.
Oh, definitely tell the bank. Good point.
And also, be aware of foreign transaction fees that some credit cards charge. These are small percentages added to every purchase you make in a foreign currency, and they can add up over a whole trip. Hashtag D. Understanding your itinerary and luggage.
That makes a lot of sense about money. So you've got your documents, you've booked your flight, you're thinking about money. Now, what is an itinerary? It sounds a little bit complicated, kind of a formal word.
An itinerary is essentially like a detailed plan or a comprehensive organization of your travel. It sounds formal, but it's really just your trip schedule. It's a document, often digital these days, that tells you everything you need to know about your trip in a structured way. For instance, it will clearly state when your plane will arrive, when you specifically need to be at the airport, which is usually much earlier than your departure time, remember?
Right, those 3 hours for international.
Exactly. Often 3 hours for international flights or maybe 2 hours for domestic ones. It also tells you crucial details like how much luggage you are allowed to take, your hotel booking references, and sometimes even recommended activities or transfers. Airlines usually provide you with this detailed itinerary after you have successfully booked your flight. It's your complete travel roadmap, and it's wise to keep a copy of it, both digitally on your phone and a printed copy, just in case.
Print copy is a good backup. And what about your bags? I know there are different kinds you can take with you when you travel, and knowing the difference seems really important for avoiding extra fees.
Yes, absolutely critical. There are two main types of bags you'll deal with for air travel. The first type is called luggage or baggage. These are your bigger suitcases, the ones you usually give to the airline at the check-in desk at the airport.
The ones that disappear.
Yes, the ones that disappear at that point. You won't see them again until you arrive in your new country, usually at a place called baggage claim. These bags travel in the cargo hold of the airplane, underneath. The second type is a carry-on bag. This is a smaller bag that you're allowed to take with you directly onto the airplane.
Okay, the little one you keep with you.
Exactly. You keep it with you during the flight, often placing it in the overhead compartment above your seat or sometimes under the seat in front of you. A smart pro tip: always keep your most important items, your passport, wallet, medications, any valuable electronics in your carry-on, just in case your checked luggage gets delayed or, worst case, lost.
Good advice. Always keep essentials close.
It's very important to check how many bags you're allowed for both luggage and carry-on, and also their size and weight limits before you travel. Airlines are strict about this, and bringing extra bags or bags that are too heavy can make your vacation very, very expensive with unexpected extra fees.
Right, those fees can bite.
They really can. Each airline has slightly different rules, so always check your specific airline's policy. Don't assume it's the same as last time.
All right, you've done all the planning. Your bags are packed, maybe weighed them at home like you suggested, and you've arrived at the bustling airport. What's the very first place you need to go once you're inside the airport building, after perhaps finding your way through the crowds?
The first place you almost always need to go is the check-in desk. This is where you'll present your ticket or your booking confirmation, along with your identification documents like your passport. At this desk, you will also check in your luggage, meaning you hand over your larger bags to the airline staff. They'll weigh your bags and tag them for your destination. They might ask you to put your luggage on a scale.
A scale. What exactly does a scale do in this situation, and why is it so important for luggage?
A scale is simply a device that measures how heavy your luggage is. For example, it might show that your bag weighs 20 kilograms. This is crucial because the airlines have strict weight limits for checked luggage, often around 23 kilograms or maybe 50 pounds, depending on the airline and your ticket type. If your bag is too heavy, meaning it exceeds the airline's weight limits, they might ask you to remove some items to reduce the weight, or, unfortunately, you might have to pay an extra overweight baggage fee, which can be quite expensive.
So weighing at home really helps avoid that surprise fee.
It really does. Saves time and money at the airport.
And while you're checking in your luggage and getting your boarding pass, can you choose where you want to sit on the plane? I know some people really prefer certain seats.
Yes, you can often ask for a specific seat, especially if you haven't chosen it beforehand when you booked online. You can ask for a window seat, which is a seat right next to the window of the plane, offering great views, especially during takeoff and landing.
I love a window seat.
We do. Or you can ask for an aisle seat, which is a seat next to the aisle, the corridor where people walk. Aisle seats are great if you like to stretch your legs or maybe need to use the restroom frequently without disturbing others.
Makes sense. Can we hear how that check-in might sound?
Sure, let's imagine that conversation at the check-in desk. Airline agent voice, friendly. Good afternoon. Where are you flying to today?
Traveler voice, a bit hurried. Good afternoon. I'm flying to Los Angeles.
Agent voice. May I have your passport, please?
Traveler voice, sure, here you go.
Agent voice. Thank you. Are you checking any bags today?
Traveler voice, just this one suitcase.
The agent voice. Okay, please place your luggage on the scale here for me. Perfect. Agent voice. I see you have a stopover in Chicago. Will your luggage go straight through?
Traveler voice. Oh, I hope so. Straight through to Los Angeles, please.
Agent voice. Don't worry, it'll go straight through. It's tagged all the way to Los Angeles. And one more thing. Would you prefer a window seat or an aisle seat?
Traveler voice. A window seat, please, if you have any available. I love looking out.
Agent voice. Let me check. Yes, we do have a window seat available for you. Okay, here's your boarding pass. Agent voice. Your flight, number 789, will leave from gate 15A. It will begin boarding at 3:20 p.m. Please be there on time.
Traveler voice. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your help.
Agent voice. My pleasure. Have a great flight.
So, to board the plane means people are getting on the plane. It sounds like they're starting to let everyone come onto the plane, right? Usually a specific group at a time.
Precisely. That's exactly what boarding the plane means. It's when passengers are directed, usually by row number or maybe a boarding group number on their pass, to walk onto the aircraft. Airlines often announce, now boarding group 1 or now boarding rows 30 to 40 to signal that it's time for you to go to the gate and get on your flight. It's that moment you feel your adventure really begin.
Exciting. Hashtag to be security check and customs. After you've checked in and you have your boarding pass, where do you go next in the airport? I imagine it's a very important step for everyone's safety.
That's absolutely right. The next crucial step is the security check. This is a specific area where airport staff meticulously check your luggage, your carry-on bag, and you personally. They use special machines like X-ray scanners for bags and sometimes full-body scanners for people. They do this to make sure that no one is carrying anything dangerous or forbidden onto the plane, like weapons or large amounts of liquids that could be a risk.
Right, safety first.
Exactly. It's all about passenger safety, so it's a very serious process. It helps to be prepared.
How does that usually work? What do they ask you to do?
Well, let's walk through it. You'll approach the line. Security officer voice, firm but clear. Next traveler, please. Place your luggage on the conveyor belt and use the gray baskets or bins for smaller objects, like your electronics and toiletries.
Traveler voice, trying to be quick. Oh, okay. Do I need to take my laptop out of the bag?
Security officer voice, yes, you do. All electronics larger than a cell phone need to be taken out and placed in a separate basket. Please also take off your hat and your shoes. And your belt.
Traveler voice. Got it. Shoes, belt, laptop. Okay. Do you have anything in your pockets? Keys, cell phone, any loose change?
Security officer voice, no, I emptied them.
Yeah.
Think I'm good.
Security officer voice. All right, step forward. You can go through the scanner now. Arms up. Okay, you're clear. You can collect your items on the other side.
It's quite a process, isn't it?
Yep.
But essential for safety.
Yeah, it definitely takes a minute to get everything back together.
A quick tip for security. Wear shoes that are easy to take off and put back on, maybe slip-ons. And avoid wearing too much jewelry or anything that might set off the metal detector, just to save time and hassle. Also remember the liquids rule for carry-ons. Liquids, gels, and aerosols must be in containers 3.4 ounces, that's 100 milliliters or smaller, and they all have to fit into one clear, quart-sized plastic bag.
Right, the little plastic bag for toiletries, got it. It certainly is a process. And what about customs? I've had that term, but I'm not entirely sure what it means in the context of international travel or why we have to go through it.
Customs is another very important place that international passengers must go through before they can officially enter a new country. This usually happens after you land and collect your luggage, but sometimes there's a check before you even leave your home country, too. At customs, officials will check your belongings, maybe ask you to fill out a declaration form, and sometimes ask you questions. They want to ensure that you are not bringing in any illegal items, things like prohibited goods, large amounts of cash that aren't declared, or certain types of food or plants that could be harmful to the country's agriculture.
Okay, so they're protecting the country.
Exactly. They also check if products you are carrying are truly for personal use, or if you might be bringing them in for business purposes, which might require different paperwork or taxes. It's a way for the country to control what comes in and out of its borders, protecting its economy, agriculture, and security. You might also have to declare high-value items you purchased abroad. This step is a final check before you're truly welcomed into the country.
So you've made it through check-in, security, maybe customs if applicable, and finally you're on the plane. That's always a great feeling. Who is there to help you during the flight and make sure you're comfortable?
Right. Once you're comfortably seated on the plane, the people who are there to help you are collectively called the cabin crew. This term includes all the people working on the plane who are not passengers. The flight attendants are a key part of the cabin crew. They are the individuals who primarily take care of passengers during the flight.
Okay, the flight attendants.
Yes. They answer your questions, attend to your requests, ensure your safety, that's their top priority, and, importantly, they offer food and drinks during the journey. They also demonstrate safety procedures before takeoff.
So if I need water or something, I ask them.
Exactly. Or if you have a question about connecting flights, they might be able to help. Here's a typical interaction you might have with a flight attendant during meal service, for example. Flight attendant voice, cheerful. Hello, ma'am. For your meal today, would you prefer the chicken or the pasta?
Passenger voice. Oh, the chicken, please. Thank you.
Flight attendant voice.
You're welcome.
And to drink, what would you like? We have Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, orange juice, apple juice, and water.
Passenger voice. Could I get a Diet Coke with no ice, please?
Flight attendant voice, certainly. Here you go. Enjoy your meal.
Passenger voice, thanks.
That's a very common exchange. They are there to make your journey as comfortable and safe as possible.
Sometimes the plane moves a little strangely in the air, or it feels like a bit of a bumpy ride. especially when flying over certain areas. What is that called, and should we be worried?
Ah, yes, that's turbulence. It's the movement of the plane that happens because of changes in air currents or atmospheric pressure. You can feel a little frightening, like a bump or a shake, and it might make you feel a bit unsettled, yeah.
Definitely unsettling sometimes.
But it's actually not dangerous at all. Airplanes are incredibly strong and are designed to handle even severe turbulence safely. Pilots are highly trained to navigate through or around turbulent areas, and they often use radar to spot it. So, while it might feel uncomfortable for a few minutes, remember that your plane is built to withstand it, and it's a normal part of flying. Always keep your seatbelt fastened when the seatbelt sign is on, even if the flight feels smooth, just in case.
Good advice, keep the belt on. And then the best part, you've flown, maybe had a drink and a meal, watched a movie, and the plane lands. What does that glorious moment mean for your trip when it finally touches down?
To land means the plane safely touches the ground on the runway. It's the moment you have officially arrived at your destination. For many travelers, it's a huge sigh of relief and excitement.
Definitely relief
The
sometimes.
cabin crew will announce the local time and sometimes the weather, and then give instructions for disembarking or getting off the plane.
What should you do once you get off the plane and are inside the airport building? What are the first steps to take?
First, you exit the plane by walking down the aisle following the other passengers. Then you will typically follow the signs, which usually say baggage claim or sometimes baggage reclaim.
Baggage claim. Okay.
This is a large area, usually with a big conveyor belt or carousel that goes around in a circle where all the suitcases from your flight are placed. You wait there, watching the bags go by, until you spot your luggage, meaning you see your specific suitcase and then you pick it up. A practical tip: tie a colorful ribbon or put a distinctive sticker on your luggage so it's easier to spot among many similar looking bags.
Good idea. Makes it stand out.
If your bag doesn't appear after a while, don't panic. There will be a lost and found office or baggage service desk nearby where you can report it.
And if you're an international passenger, there's one more important step before you can truly leave the airport, right? Especially if you came from another country.
Yes, absolutely. If you traveled with your passport, meaning you crossed international borders, you will need to go through passport control, also sometimes called immigration.
Okay, passport control or immigration?
This is a specific area where police or immigration officers will check your passport, verify your identity, and sometimes ask you a few brief questions, like the purpose of your visit, how long you plan to stay, and maybe where you'll be staying. They might also take your fingerprints or a photo as part of their entry procedures. Once everything is in order, they will stamp your passport to officially record your entry and then welcome you to the country.
So that's the final check.
Exactly. Only after this step are you truly cleared to enter and begin your exploration. It's the final gateway.
Once you've arrived, collected your bags, passed through passport control, you're finally out. The very next thing you need is a place to sleep. What are some common options for finding accommodation in a new place, from luxury to budget friendly?
You have several common choices when looking for a place to stay, depending on your budget and, what kind of experience you want. A hotel is a very well-known option. It's a commercial establishment where you pay for a room to sleep at night. Hotels can range from basic to very luxurious, often offering private bathrooms, room service, maybe a gym, or even a swimming pool. Their prices vary accordingly.
Right.
A motel is usually a little cheaper and more basic than a hotel. Motels are often found along highways, designed for road travelers, and typically have direct access to your room from the parking lot. Kind of simple and practical. Then there's a hostel. A hostel is usually a very cheap option and is frequently used by students or backpackers. In hostels, it's common for many people to share rooms, often dormitory-style sleeping arrangements with bunk beds,
Bunk beds, yeah.
and usually share communal bathrooms or showers. They are great for meeting other travelers, but offer less privacy. Other popular options include bed and breakfasts or B&Bs, which are often smaller, more personal, and include breakfast or vacation rentals through platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, where you rent the whole apartment or house. Lots of choices.
So once you've chosen your place, whether it's a fancy hotel or a cozy Airbnb, how do you officially check into your accommodation if you've already booked it? What do you say?
If you've made a reservation, you go to the front desk of the hotel or guest house, often called reception, and politely say, "Hi, I have a reservation under your last name." For example, you say, "Hi, I have a reservation under Smith." Yeah. You'll then typically need to provide them with your identification, like a driver's license or passport, and the credit card you use for the reservation or wish to use for payment. They'll then give you your room key or maybe key card. If you don't have a reservation and are just walking in hoping for a room, you can ask, "I'd like a room with 2 queen beds, please," if that's what you need, or specify 1 king bed or a single room. And if you have special needs, you can politely ask, "I'd like a room with elevator access," or perhaps on the first floor to make sure it's easy for you to get around. These are all polite and clear ways to communicate your needs.
Very helpful. And what are some good questions to ask the hotel staff or maybe your Airbnb host once you've checked in? They are local experts after all and can be so helpful.
Exactly. They are truly your best local resource, often much better than a guidebook. You can start by asking, "Do you have a map?" This can be incredibly useful for navigating a new city on foot.
Always need a map.
Another great question is, "Do you have any recommendations for food and attractions nearby?" They often have a list of popular or maybe hidden gem restaurants that locals frequent and interesting places to visit that aren't necessarily in the main tourist guides.
Good idea. Ask for local tips.
Definitely. And if you want to know how to get to these places or generally get around the city, you can ask, "What's the best way to get there?" Or simply, "How do I get to the museum?" They might tell you about convenient public transportation options like trains or buses that are much better than trying to drive or find parking in a busy city. You can also ask about the Wi-Fi password, breakfast times, or the nearest pharmacy. Don't be shy. They're usually happy to help. #TagTagTagB, getting around and sightseeing.
Once you're settled in your accommodation, the real fun begins, exploring your destination. If you've rented a car, how do you start exploring the city or surrounding areas? Is there a phrase for that?
A common phrase when you're starting a journey, especially by car, is to hit the road. It just means you're literally beginning your drive or road trip.
Hit the road.
Oh. As you're driving, the scenery might be scenic, which means it's very pretty and beautiful to look at, offering lovely views of the landscape, like mountains, forests, or oceans. Many road trips are chosen specifically for their scenic routes.
I personally love walking in new cities. It's one of my absolute favorite ways to discover a place and really feel its atmosphere.
That's a fantastic way to explore. If a city is described as walkable, it means it's very easy and pleasant to walk through and explore on foot. You can reach many attractions and points of interest simply by walking.
Love a walkable city.
Me too. But of course, you can also use public transportation to get around. This includes things like buses, trains, or trams, which are like trains that run on tracks on the road within the city. If you don't have a specific destination in mind, you can just wander or roam around, which means to walk freely without a particular goal, simply exploring and seeing what you find. Very relaxing.
Just wandering. Nice.
Or you might decide to take a stroll, which is a slow, relaxed walk, perhaps in a park or along a quiet street. Sometimes cities, especially large ones, can be very bustling, meaning they're very busy, lively, and often noisy with a lot of people and activity.
Yeah.
You'll feel the energy.
When you explore a city like that, seeing all the famous places, you go sightseeing, right? What does that really mean, and what kinds of things might you see?
Sightseeing means you are actively exploring a city and visiting all its main attractions and interesting sites. This could involve visiting a historic castle, exploring a fascinating museum where you might see artifacts, which are old objects from the past like ancient tools or pottery,
Artifacts.
or even an art exhibit, which is a collection of paintings, sculptures, or other artworks by an artist. While you're sightseeing, you might also look for souvenirs,
Ah, yes, souvenirs.
little things you take home from your vacation as a memory, like a fridge magnet, a postcard, a local craft, or maybe even a piece of traditional clothing. They help you remember your trip.
That brings up a great question. What's the difference between a tourist attraction and a tourist trap? It sounds like one is good and the other definitely not so good.
That's a really important distinction for smart travelers. A tourist attraction is a place of genuine interest that naturally draws many tourists because of its historical significance, natural beauty, or unique features. Think
Yeah.
of famous landmarks, ancient ruins, or important historical sites like, the Eiffel Tower or the Colosseum. These are truly worth visiting.
Okay, the real deal.
Exactly. However, you should be careful of what are called tourist traps. These are places where you often spend a lot of money for very little value. They're typically created just for tourists, and you'll notice that local people usually don't go there because they know it's overpriced, not authentic, or simply not a good value.
How can you tell if something is a tourist trap?
Well, look for places with generic, mass-produced souvenirs, really inflated prices clearly aimed at foreigners, and maybe a complete lack of local patrons. If everyone around you is speaking English in a non-English speaking country, and the prices seem too high for simple things, it's often a red flag.
Ah, good tips. Ask a local is probably best.
Always ask a local for recommendations to avoid these traps.
And when you're at a beautiful place, perhaps high up, looking out at the scenery, what do you say about those amazing views?
When you see a beautiful view, you can say you take in the view or you admire it. These phrases mean you are truly appreciating the beauty before you, maybe taking a moment to just breathe it all in. If you can see a very large area from high above, like an entire city stretching out below you, that amazing wide view is called a panorama. Many cities have famous viewpoints specifically for enjoying a panorama.
A panorama. Love that word. It's also great to travel at your own speed, not feeling rushed by a strict schedule.
Absolutely. You can travel at your own pace, meaning you have the freedom to travel as fast or as slow as you want. You can stop when you like, spend extra time at a place you love, and move on when you're ready, without being tied to a group tour schedule. Also, knowing if it's peak season, which is the busiest time of year for tourism, can help you plan your trip. During peak season, places are more crowded and prices are usually higher.
Right. More expensive and busy.
Traveling during shoulder season, that's just before or after peak season, or off season, can mean fewer crowds and lower prices, which is a great pro tip for a more relaxed experience. Hashtag tag tag TC, eating out at restaurants.
After all that exploring, you'll definitely want to grab a bite to eat. That's a very common phrase for going out for food. What should you say when you walk into a restaurant in an English-speaking country?
When you walk into a restaurant, especially in places like the United States, someone might greet you and then simply ask, how many? They're asking how many people are in your group.
Okay, how many?
You can clearly answer, I'd like a table for 4, please, or whatever number is in your party. If it's just you, you can say, table for 1, please. Simple as that.
What if you don't know what to order from the menu? Sometimes there are so many choices, or the food is new and unfamiliar to you.
A great and polite question to ask is, do you have any recommendations? This is a polite way to ask the staff, the waiter or waitress, for their suggestions on popular or special dishes. They often know what's freshest, what the restaurant is known for, or what's a local favorite. It's a great way to discover new and delicious things you might not have tried otherwise.
Good idea. Ask the expert. What if you have special food needs, like allergies or specific dietary choices? This is really important for health and comfort.
It's very important to communicate this clearly and upfront. You can ask, are there any vegetarian options if you don't eat meat? Or are there any vegan options if you avoid all animal products like meat, dairy, and eggs? For those with specific health needs, you can ask, are there any gluten-free options? Or you can directly state, I'm allergic to nuts, or I'm allergic to gluten. Most restaurants are very understanding and accommodating, and they want to ensure your safety and enjoyment. Don't hesitate to ask.
Definitely speak up about allergies. In some countries, you can change your order a little bit, like taking something off a burger or adding an extra item. How do you do that politely in English?
If you want to customize your food, you can say, can I get the cheeseburger and hold the lettuce and tomato? In this context, hold means don't give it to me or leave it off. It's a very common American phrase you'll hear.
Hold the lettuce. Got it.
Or you can simply say, can I get the cheeseburger without the lettuce and tomato? Both phrases are perfectly understood and used. You can also ask for substitutions like, can I substitute the fries for a side salad? Sometimes there's an extra charge, but often it's fine.
What about big portions, especially in places like the US? And what if you can't finish all your food? Which happens to me sometimes.
You're right. In some countries, like the US, portions can indeed be very generous or very big. It's perfectly okay if you don't finish all your food. You don't need to feel pressured to eat everything. When you're ready to leave, if you have leftovers, you can simply ask, can I get a to-go box, please? Or sometimes people say, can I get a doggy bag, please? Even if it's not for a dog.
To-go box or a doggy bag. Okay.
The server will usually bring you a container for you to put your leftovers in so you can take them home to eat later. It's a very common practice and a great way to save food and money.
And when you're ready to pay for your meal, what's the most polite way to ask for the bill? I've heard sometimes what you see in movies isn't always what you should say in real life.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Many movies show people saying, check, please.
Well,
Maybe with a hand gesture, but this is actually considered a bit rude or very informal in real life, especially in a nicer restaurant.
okay, so avoid check, please.
Yeah, it's much more polite and common to say, can I get the check, please? This is the phrase that everyone uses, and it shows respect to the staff. In some places like the UK, they say, can I get the bill, please? Both are perfectly understood, but check is more common in North America.
Check or bill, but ask politely.
Exactly. When it comes to paying, you can ask, do you take credit cards? Or can we pay with cash? And if you're with a group, you might ask, can we split the bill to pay separately? Hashtag tag tags again. Shopping phrases.
Shopping is another common and often enjoyable part of travel, especially looking for gifts or local items. What are some key phrases to use when you enter a shop or when a shop assistant approaches you?
When you enter a shop, the person working there, the shop assistant, might greet you and then ask, are you looking for anything? Or can I help you? The easiest and most common way to answer if you are just browsing and not looking for anything specific is just looking, thanks, or I'm just looking, thank you.
Just looking, thanks. Easy.
It's simple, clear, and lets them know you're okay on your own for now. Polite and efficient.
But what if you were looking for something specific, like a gift for someone back home or a particular item you saw?
If you're looking for something specific, you could use the phrase I'm looking for example, I'm looking for some special local chocolate to buy as a gift. Or you can phrase it as a question. Do you have any special chocolate that I could buy as a gift? This tells the shop assistant exactly what you need, and they can direct you to the right section or offer suggestions. You could also ask, do you have this in a different size, if it's clothing, or maybe do you have this in a different color?
Okay, I'm looking for, or do you have?
Mm. And if you're buying clothes, is it common to be able to try them on before you buy them, and how do you ask for that?
Yes, in many countries, especially the US and Canada, it's very common to be allowed to try on clothes before you buy them. You can simply ask, can I try this on, holding up the item you like? Or you can ask, can I have a dressing room? Or where are the fitting rooms? A dressing room or fitting room is a small private room where you can try on clothes. They will usually show you where it is or unlock it for you. Can I try this on? Good. How do you ask about paying for your items? Is cash always best, or do credit cards work everywhere?
You can ask, do you take credit cards? This is a very practical question. In many places, like the US, it's very common for even small shops to accept credit cards. However, some smaller independent shops or very local markets might have a minimum purchase amount to use a credit card, perhaps $5 or $10, because of the fees involved for them. So it's always good to check beforehand if you're making a small purchase.
Okay, ask about credit cards, especially for small things. What if a shop only takes cash and you don't have any with you? That could be a problem.
If they don't take credit cards, which is less common in many places now, but still happens, especially at markets or really small shops, you can ask, is there an ATM nearby?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, an ATM is an automated teller machine, the machine where you can get cash with your credit or debit card. Shops that only take cash are usually familiar with nearby ATMs and can direct you.
Okay, is there an ATM nearby?
Just remember to check if your bank charges a fee for using ATMs in another country, as those can add up too.
Right. And if all else fails and you really, really want something from that unique shop but can't buy it right then, or maybe it's too big to carry.
You can ask, do you have a website? This is great if you want to buy it online later, perhaps when you're back home. If you're thinking about shipping it home directly, you can ask, do you offer international shipping? They might even be able to ship it directly to your hotel if you're going to be staying there for a few more days, which can be very convenient.
Oh, shipping to the hotel. That's clever.
Always clarify about any additional customs duties or taxes that might apply to international shipments, though. Those can sometimes be a surprise when the item arrives in your home country. It's always worth asking. Hashtag tag 88. Renting a car.
For some trips, especially if you want to explore beyond just one city or maybe public transportation is limited, a car is a must-have. What do we need to know about renting one when we're abroad?
Renting a car gives you so much freedom to explore at your own pace, doesn't it? When you're at the car rental counter, you can ask for the specific type of car you need. For example, you might say, I'd like a small sedan for 5 days, or I'm looking to rent an SUV for 5 days, depending on your travel plans and how many people are with you, and your luggage needs, of course.
Right. Size matters.
Definitely. If they offer you a car that feels too big or too small, you can ask, do you have that in the compact size for something smaller? Or do you have that in an SUV size for something bigger?
Mm-hmm.
You might also need to specify if you want an automatic or manual transmission. Automatic is more common in North America, but manual cars or stick shifts are more common in some parts of the world, like Europe.
Good point. Check the transmission type. What exactly is a deposit when you're renting a car? Is it extra money you pay that you don't get back?
A deposit is an amount of money you pay, or rather, that they hold on your credit card at the beginning of the rental. However, it's usually a refundable deposit. This means you get that money back, or the hold is released from your card when you return the car in good condition, meaning no new damage, and with the fuel level as agreed, which is often a full tank.
Okay, so it's refundable, usually.
Usually, yes. The amount of the deposit can vary greatly, from maybe $100 to much more, depending on the car type and rental duration. It's important to know this, so you can always ask, how much is the refundable deposit, to be prepared. This money isn't part of the actual rental cost. It's just held by the company as security.
And what about the cost of the car itself? How do you make sure you know the total price and avoid any hidden surprises or extra fees? Insurance always seems tricky.
That's a very important question. The rental agent might first tell you the daily rate, for example. The daily rate for this car is $35. But it's crucial to always ask for the total cost to make sure you know all the fees.
The total cost. Okay.
Yes. Ask what's the total cost, including all fees and taxes. This should include taxes, any airport surcharges, and especially insurance. Insurance can be complicated. There are often different types of insurance offered, like collision damage waiver, CDW, or liability insurance, and these can significantly increase the total price. Sometimes your credit card offers some coverage, so check that beforehand too. Also, ask about the fuel policy. Do you need to return it with a full tank, or do you pay for the gas up front? If the total cost seems too high for your budget, you can politely ask, is there any way to bring that number down? Sometimes they can offer a different, cheaper vehicle or explain options to reduce certain costs. Okay, always ask for the total and maybe ask if there are cheaper options. Exactly. Always ask for a breakdown of the fees. And don't forget to ask if you need an international driving permit, IDP. This is an official translation of your license, and you might need it in certain countries. You typically need to get this before you leave your home country.
Right, IDP. Check that before leaving. Finally, when your trip is over and you're ready to head home, where do you take the car back? How do you return it easily?
You can ask, where should I return the vehicle? Or where should I drop off the vehicle or the car? These phrases are interchangeable and commonly used.
Where should I drop off the car?
Yes. If you're not returning the car to the same location where you picked it up, for example, if you drove from one city to another, you can ask, is there another location that I can return or drop off the car? This is called a one-way rental, and not all companies offer it, or it might come with an extra fee, but it's always good to inquire if it suits your travel plans. They will usually give you specific directions to the car return area at the airport or in the city.
Okay.
Remember to check the car thoroughly for any personal belongings before you hand over the keys. Easy to forget something when you're rushing. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. What an incredible and comprehensive deep dive into the world of travel. From getting your essential documents ready, like that passport, and understanding different flight types, to confidently handling money abroad, navigating busy airports,
Check-in, security.
and then truly exploring new cities, finding places to stay, getting around, eating delicious food, shopping for those perfect souvenirs, and even renting a car for extra freedom. We truly hope you feel much more prepared, confident, and, well, excited for your next adventure.
Indeed. Understanding these everyday phrases and knowing how to navigate common situations means you can focus on the very best parts of your trip, enjoying your journey, discovering fascinating new places, immersing yourself in different cultures, and having amazing, truly unforgettable experiences. All without feeling confused or overwhelmed by the language.
Yeah, less stress, more fun.
It genuinely opens up a world of possibilities for you.
So, what does all of this mean for you as you plan your next exciting travels? The next time you plan a trip, whether it's a big international adventure or maybe a shorter domestic getaway, I encourage you to pick just one new word or phrase from today's deep dive. Make it a goal to use it confidently during your adventure. Even just one new phrase, like asking for a window seat or knowing how to ask for the check politely, can make a huge difference in how comfortable and capable you feel.
That's a great challenge. And this raises an important question for you, our dedicated listener. How will you actively use these new words and phrases, these practical nuggets of knowledge, to make your next travel experience not just good, but truly great, remarkably smooth, and wonderfully unforgettable? Perhaps you'll confidently ask for an aisle seat or perfectly order that to-go box at a restaurant or even spot a tourist trap before it traps you. Think about it.
We hope you enjoyed learning with us today. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time on DDC Learning English. Safe travels, everyone.